Hello, you all. So, I'm going to be talking about my visit to heaven and what happened, what I saw, and how many times it happened. And then I'll talk also about my visit to hell because I've been to hell too, along with heaven. So, my very first visit to heaven, I was sleeping and I woke up in heaven basically. It was kind of like a vision, if you will, but my spirit was there. And before I could enter heaven, this angel with this giant flaming sword held out the sword before me, and I thought it was about to be destroyed. I thought I had died in my sleep and I was about to get sent to hell. So I was full of fear. I was like, what is this? Did I just die in my sleep? Like, why am I here? It was cool to be in heaven, but I was still terrified because I was like, oh, I'm probably about to get wiped out forever. So the angel held out this flaming sword, and around my spirit was this reddish, blackish energy that I understood to be sin and just my wickedness as a man. And after the angel held out that sword, it all cleared up. It went away, and then I could enter heaven, and I didn't have any fear anymore. And so the first thing that happened when I entered heaven, I was immediately before the throne of God, the throne of El Shaddai, the throne of Jehovah, the throne of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of Israel, that God, the God all the Christians pray to, the same God I've been praying to my whole life. Um, I was immediately just amazed. I couldn't look up. My head was bowed. I didn't want to look up. I thought in my head, God, who am I that you would summon me to your throne? Like, what have I done to deserve such an honor, if you will? And just the contemplative peace. Like, it's peace unlike you can find on earth. It's stillness of mind. It's calmness and serenity and tranquility all together. You cannot truly have fear. You're just in awe of God. Like, you can fear God, but you're in awe of the Lord while still being who you are, if that makes sense. You can only think of God, if you will, but you're still your own being. I don't know how better to describe that. Um, that was the first time I ever visited heaven. This was about maybe 3 years ago or so. Um, I had never had such a vision before that, but I had it, and then I had more after that happened. And this actually all kind of began to happen after I read the Greater Key of Solomon. I read some book from maybe the book of Adam and Eve, I believe, where it said that somebody called on the name of the Lord and they got summoned to heaven. And so I took it upon myself to I found some of the names of the Lord in the Greater Key of Solomon, and I started reading it more and more, and this eventually happened. Not that that's specifically why I got summoned to heaven. I'm sure God just wanted me up there for his own purpose, but still, that was the first time I visited heaven. So, and in that same vision, the Lord he showed me a little bit of the court of heaven. Um, there was this great chamber guarded by four angels, and behind these ridiculously thick, and I mean ridiculously thick, spiritual energy walls, if you will, like made out of crystal and energy, and two angels in the front, and behind those two angels was a wall, another wall, and then there was two angels behind that wall, and behind those two angels was another really, really thick wall. So what that wall was holding back was, I believe, the heart of the Lord, the very essence of creation and destruction, if you will. It was the most terrifying and amazing thing I've ever seen. And I can't really put it into words because I had no words when I was before it. It didn't make sense to my human brain, and yet it did too. I'm trying my best to describe it because it was like raw creation and destruction at the same time. I knew that what was in there, this raging storm of fire, worse than hell, like way more terrifying than hell is, it could destroy everything. And by everything, I mean the fabric of all existence. It could just rip everything apart if it was unleashed and let outside of that chamber it was being kept in. And so after that, I would say I got shown the size of the angels compared to us. And here's an example. There was an angel walking next to me, and there was this room we were going into, and the room for me, in my human size, was a 30-minute walk, and for the angel, it was literally 3 steps away. So that's how big they are compared to us. Like, you might think of them as maybe 10 times our size, if not even more. So I thought that was pretty interesting to see the scale of a human compared to an angel. And so that was the first time I visited. And I've had shorter visions than that one also, because in between that vision and another more wholesome vision I had, uh, I would say that I had the Lord came and visited me when I went to my dad's house a few years ago, and it was one of my last times staying there, and I spent the night there. And while I was there that night, Jesus came with, I couldn't see his face was brighter than the sun. He had on all the regalia, if you will. Beneath his feet was this blue crystal looking fire. It was beautiful, but he couldn't touch the ground because of his holiness. And he had an escort of 4 angels, and those angels, sorry about that, those angels stayed in the hallway. It was like I had this vision, but it was like he was in my room. Think of being in your room and the light is off and somebody turns the light on, and that's what it looked like to me. Like my light was off, but when the Lord showed up, the light was on, as if I got up and turned it on myself. But then I woke up thinking, like, did I leave my light on? Like, did I go to sleep with my light on? Because I don't remember doing that. I woke up, my light was off. So it was like, this was Jesus visiting me, and when he came, the light came on. And when he left, the light was off again, like normal. So he just appeared. He didn't say anything. He just appeared to me because it was one of the last times I was at my birth. It was my childhood home, and it was one of my last times being there. I've been there since then, but still, it was special. The 4 angels for the 4 letters of God's name, the Lord himself, there before me, me, just a mere servant, if you will. It's still wild because I don't know what I really did to earn such favor from the Lord in that regard. Not that I'm trying to say I'm blessed and highly favored, of course, but I'm not trying to sound arrogant about it. I just, maybe my piety towards the Lord, maybe the fact that I'm searching for the Lord so hard is why that happened. So there was another vision I had where I prayed to the Lord and I asked him about a symbol, and I know people are going to have a lot of controversy about this, and I don't really care. I prayed to the Lord for an answer, and I asked the Lord if he would allow me to take upon myself a symbol from the greater key of Solomon. And so when I asked, because I didn't want to put God's name on my body without his permission, if you will. And so I asked him, and he actually answered me, and he gave it to me with his right hand. Like, I was there. This was one of the quicker visions. I was there, and there was the Lord on his throne. Once again, I couldn't see his face. I could see kind of his body, but not his face. His face was brighter than the sun. I didn't want to look him directly in the face. He held out his right hand. He gave me the symbol on my arm right here. I don't know if you can see that pretty well. It's the 3rd pinnacle of Mars, and it looked just like it does right here, just in spiritual form. There was a scroll that opened before the Lord handed it to me. There was a scroll that opened behind him, and on the scroll was all the pinnacles of Solomon and the greater key of Solomon, and they were in order as they are in the book that Solomon wrote, and they scrolled across, and he gave me this one. And so, when he gave it to me in heaven, it looked red like it is here. And when my tattoo artist did, like when I went to get this tattoo, I'm trying to show it as best I can. The camera sucks. I wanted it in black. I wanted it in black ink because all the rest of my tattoos were in black ink. So, excuse me. The tattoo artist that gave it to me said, "Hey, do you mind if I kind of put my own twist on it?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And so she made it like this. And the ironic part there is that that's what it looked like when God gave it to me in heaven. I didn't expect to get it like that, and I didn't know what color she was going to use until she told me, but I just thought that was wild. It was like the translation of it from looking like it did in heaven and then it looking like that when I got it here on earth. That was crazy to me. But anyway, so that was another vision. I would say the next one, I, well, in between this, before I go to the next vision about heaven, I went to hell. And I knew when I was a kid, since I was a child, if God ever showed me heaven, I would have to see hell too. And I didn't complain about it. I knew it had to happen. So I got sent to hell just for maybe 5 earthly seconds, if you will. In hell's time, that might be like 3 minutes or something like that. So I woke up in hell. This was a different vision. This was actually when I was at my mom's house one day, visiting my hometown. And the first vision when I met the Lord was at my dad's house, my childhood home. And then the vision in hell was when I went to my mom's house in the same city. And so I woke up in darkness. I woke up being trapped by some black substance that did not allow me to move. And I couldn't move. I just remember being filled with panic, the apex of panic and fear. And I didn't know what to do. I was stuck. I couldn't do anything really. All I could do was look around like, oh crap, I'm in hell for real. Like, you can't, you're stuck. So it kind of skipped around. So from there, from just being stuck, it's like when I first got there, I'm stuck in this black mass. I can't move at all. All I can do is kind of look around and be afraid, basically. And so after that, I get kind of, you might say, teleported, if you will, to a chair where my arms are tied up like this above my head, and I see all these demons and fallen angels circle around me, and out comes this skeletal figure dressed in all a black robe. I couldn't see his face, but I could see his hands, and his hands were like a skeleton a really old skeleton that was alive, if you will. Like the color of the bone was like it looked ancient and withered, if you will. And so, black robe, he brought out this machine. It looked kind of like a tattoo machine, if I'm being honest. It had this really long needle, and by long I mean long, like not a tattoo needle, a super duper long needle. He put it right here, right there, and turned it on, and it was like a machine. It felt like 1,000 knives stabbed me in that one point, in this one spot right here, and I was about to be skinned alive. And so right after that, God yanked me out of hell. I woke up on my bed, shaking, trembling, sweating. I could feel where the demon put that needle for 2 hours after I woke up. Like physically right here. I could still feel it. So that terrified me to my core, and yet I knew I had to visit hell one day. I thank God that he pulled me right out, because I didn't want to stay any longer than that, even if I had to be there just to see what it's like to give the testimony, if you will. So that was me visiting hell, and don't recommend that. Please turn to the Lord. The God of Israel is the only one. I don't know what else to tell you. My next time I visited heaven, though, and it's a lot more, this one's a lot more chill. I visited heaven, and there was this angel who took me to some of the mansions, if you will, of the Lord that he talks about in the Bible. And he took me to my room, or at least one of it. They were all connected, but they were like separate too. And I saw some of the streets of gold. I didn't see any people walking around at that time, but I did see some of the streets of gold from a distance. Like it wasn't it was meant to be a glimpse, if you will. The angel that took me there looked at me like I hadn't made it yet, if you will. Like I'm not here yet. I could still lose. So he had this stern look on his face, but he was still escorting me and doing his job. But I was like, I thought in my head, no, I'm not in heaven. I'm not a citizen of heaven yet. So I could still possibly lose. And that's kind of the look he had. Like I could still lose out and be an enemy and be in hell for eternity too. So he took me to this room. I saw inside the room this beautiful raised platform, kind of circular, and on the top was this beautiful purple leather, and the material is made out of the platform. I mean, was like gold and platinum mixed, the finest gold and platinum you could ever think of mixed together. And then on the top was the most rich, beautiful purple leather I'd ever seen. Like way better than anything you could replicate here on Earth. We don't have that type of quality and craftsmanship. We just don't. It's the Earth feels like plastic compared to heaven. Heaven is so much more real than this. Like this feels cheap, if you will, if that makes sense. I know we eat and drink and we breathe air like humans do, but it doesn't compare to the spirit realm. And so that was all. It was like a meditation chamber, if you will. It was just a glimpse of what is to come, an example of the craftsmanship and beauty of the Lord in that form. And so my most recent visit to heaven probably was one of the more intriguing ones. And so I I I joked in my head actually that like maybe God would break my chains, break all the chains of my darkness and let me come up in life, if you will, because I was getting tired of being kind of stuck where I was before, mentally, spiritually, and not being where I wanted to be with that, and not having the confidence that comes with that. So I was before the Lord again. This time it was Jesus, and I couldn't see his face again, but I could see the majority of his body, just not his face, like the majority of his figure, but not his face, because it's brighter than the sun. It's like a energy beam, if you will, kind of like brighter than the sun. It's harder to look at than the sun. You can look at the sun for a little bit. You can't really look at the Lord's face like that, because it's just overwhelming with brilliance. So I was there before the Lord, before the congregation, because there were a bunch of angels around too. They weren't necessarily close to me. They were just kind of in the distance. They I was before all these beings, all these holy beings, right? On one side was a black chain, and on the other side was a black chain. They exploded off of me like a small bomb. Both not any type of light explosion. Like they blew away very firmly. And I looked behind me. The Lord told me, "Look behind you." So I turned around, thinking I would see thinking I would see a demon or something. I got kind of scared. I was like, but then I was kind of excited too. It was weird to describe. I was just excited to be there. I turned around. There was a pile of black chains. Two blew off of me just then. There was a pile of them that led to this portal, this black portal that was hell, of course. And these black spiritual chains, like they're thick and powerful, but the Lord broke them like nothing. It was a pile that had already been broken, and the last two on me had been broken off in that vision just then. So the Lord, after that, he welcomed me. I couldn't see his face, but I knew he was smiling. He was happy. He was overjoyed, as a matter of fact, that I was there before him. And I was just like, the Lord is like excited to see me. Like he's upholding my presence here in heaven before all these angels. And he was like, come and join the congregation of those faithful to me in my name. And I saw where he was pointing to was this, like where he was leading me to, if you will, or about to lead me to, was a bunch of other angels. Now I couldn't see them physically up close because they were kind of far away, but their auras were colorful and bright, and I knew that this was the people who feared the Lord, and their auras were all different colors, and they were all beautiful, bright colors, and the Lord was offering me to go over to them and be with them, and he had no shame in his voice. He was happy I was there, and it was amazing for me to be with the Lord in that regard, and for me to have a place of honor by the Lord himself, like as in I hadn't lost anything. He was welcoming me to his people, to his congregation. That was amazing to me, and it stuck with me to this day. That was the most recent. That was only maybe a few months ago when that vision happened, but the first vision I told you about happened a few years ago. So they've been spotty over the course of maybe 3 years now. One vision I did forget that I needed to describe I visited hell one time. This was a quick one. I wasn't trapped or anything. The Lord was actually right there. I should probably describe this in more detail. The Lord was there, but I was in hell, but I wasn't in any pain or anything. Next to me was my ex at the time. She was right here. She was right here. I was right here. And in front of me, across a table that was filthy, this table looked ancient and dirty and like, think of stone that's had nothing but filth layered on it over the course of millennia, if you will. Just, if you put your finger on it, you would pick up filth. Let's put it that way. It was disgusting. I couldn't, whatever. Across from that, across from me, a fallen angel. A fallen angel whose his skin was like, I can't describe it because the color was so different. It was weird. He had his eyes were pure hatred, black. He didn't take his eyes off me. His eyes were looking at mine. The longer I was in this thing's presence, the more furious I became. I was like, how dare you challenge me? Like, who do you think you are, trying to tear me down, trying to tear down everything that I am and could be, just because you're cursed and condemned? That's what I was thinking in my head. I didn't say anything to him, but the hatred in his eyes, no man can replicate that hatred. Only a fallen angel could hate you that much. Like, no man can muster up that type of ferocity in their face. I'll put it that way. Next to that fallen angel was a demon, and the demon was facing my ex at the time, and she couldn't lift her face. She was crying and terrified. This was a vision, not like she was literally there. This was just a vision, but still, she couldn't lift her face. She couldn't muster up the courage to look them in the face, and she kept crying, and I got angry. I got furious, actually. I got so angry that I was like, I think God cut it short because I was losing control of my emotions. The fallen angel had a black robe again, kind of neat right here around the neck, like almost like a Asian kind of style, where it crosses over and then kind of goes into that. But its face, and it had the hands of a human, but the skin tone it had was like a pale kind of pink, almost like a pale white pink that looked like it looked ancient. I don't know how to describe it. It had the head of a triceratops, the body of a man, head of a triceratops, and the horns and everything. And I thought of how that format would mock the Trinity because it's like, the triangle, but it was a triceratops on a triceratops head with kind of a distorted human face almost, but not exactly. Like, you wouldn't call it a human, you would call it a thing. But the eyes, and it had hands like a human, and it was sitting there like this, like its eyes were fixated on me, and it was pure hatred. No man can muster up that type of hatred. You cannot match that type of hatred. I don't care how hard you try. I don't care how racist you are, how much you just can't stand this people or that people. You can't do it. It was I wasn't as afraid as I would have been if the Lord wasn't right there. I would have been afraid, obviously, but he was right there, right off to the side of the table. And I had to, after that, it was only a few seconds, but I got to meet a fallen angel, and I became pissed off. I became angry. I became enraged, actually, because I was like, this is my enemy right here in front of me. Like, like, there you are. It pissed me off. And so that was my visit to hell. And if I have more visions, I'll let you guys know. But so far, these are my most profound ones. I don't think I left anything out in this video. Hopefully, if you watch this, you can learn something. I hope you guys turn to the Lord. And even if you don't believe me, that's fine. I don't really care. It happened, and I'm not finna be like, oh, I'm gonna recant my beliefs because y'all feel some type of way. No. I pray you all find the Lord. I pray you all serve the Lord in spirit and truth, and that you take it seriously, because the way the world's going now, the Lord's return is pretty imminent. Now, I can't say I know when or where exactly, but the signs are really coming together now. So try your best